You mentioned that when people's interests are too different, they lose their tactile connection, and what's left is just the image of a relationship. The sexuality in the couple disappears. And at the same time, when someone has overly grand goals or plans, like when a man sets goals way bigger than the energy he actually has, his sexuality drops too.
Here's what's going on. If he's stuck in being correct, it disappears. If he's in curiosity, in growth, it multiplies. And then he naturally moves away from rigid dogmas like family, one woman forever, for the rest of your life, and all that. That gets pushed to the background because when a man, these are stages, right? We all come here with shortcomings. We're meant to transform as we move to the next level. When people ask, why are experienced people interesting? Because they know exactly where things won't work if you do them a certain way. And if you do them this way or that way, they will work. Because out of all options, that's the way that actually produces a result. And you always need to keep trying. Maybe there are better and better options. And intuition plays a role here, because we can act out of correctness, choosing a woman who doesn't match our capacity or a man who doesn't match our scale, and then suffer in that relationship, convincing ourselves, well, God gave this to me, so I must carry this lesson to the end of my life. We don't owe anyone any lesson. Our job is to move toward novelty, toward development, which means there must be shared interests, shared sensing, and this balance of values. And it's defined very simply. With tactile connection, you enjoy it when it's happening. With hugs, you savor the hugs. When you're discussing things, even conflicts, it's interesting to talk. And every time a fight happens, you ask yourself an honest question. Do I even want to be with this person? And deep inside, the answer is always accurate, yes or no. I ask people, if everything is on the edge, how much energy are you willing to invest? How interested are you in bringing this relationship back to life? And if someone says, I don't want to invest anything at all, then we don't waste time. We simply create conditions to disentangle in an honest, kind, respectful way without ruining our own or the other person's life when we no longer have the resources or the desire to look for them to restore the relationship.
How can someone who wants to understand things for themselves, you said earlier, and you always repeat this, that we are by similarity,
Yes.
that we cannot live 10 to 20 years with a person who is not our dissociated self. How do you know when the similarity is over?
Very simply, you feel that just a little more. But that's already the extreme cases. Right now we're talking about extremes. Later we'll talk about the non-extreme cases, okay? Actually, let's talk about the non-extremes now. It's easier. We're always interacting. We're always offering what we enjoy, what gives us pleasure, what develops us, what gives us feedback that, yeah, this is cool, this is great, this is wonderful. And our partner either accepts it or doesn't. If they accept, we do it together. If they don't, I do it alone. I have no right not to do it. And if I want to do this business, paint, travel here, go to a museum, another person has no right, if they're not interested, to say, no, you stay? I'm sitting here in one place, so you sit too.
But some are sneaky. Like, well, okay, I'm kind of curious too, let's go.
Look, sneaky.
Kind of interesting, kind of fine.
Sneaky. But the principle is this, sensing. Because you immediately feel, I went with this person, but damn it, when I'm alone, it somehow feels better. And if the other person sincerely wants to understand, feel, figure it out, they're curious but slow, you'll feel that some real energy is generated there. But if they're just tagging along inertly, because inside they're like, I want to vampirize, I'll pass off wishful thinking as reality, I'll imitate orgasms, he can work hard, sweat pouring down, thinking he's a hero. Inside, there'll always be that residue. Any man who feels, he knows when an orgasm was real, because afterward, he's in a great mood for a week. And he knows when it was fake, because afterward, he's like, man, I feel like I could just scream. If we're talking about sex, the principle is this. When sex ends and a man suddenly feels a sharp aversion to this woman, it means there was a lot of lying somewhere. Cortisol was released. But if there was a lot of genuine pleasure, then, in the most surprising way, the man wants to talk, cuddle, be be tender. That means there was a lot of honesty with himself and with the world.
And the woman is like, would you stop clinging already?
That's quite possible. If she's conservative, doesn't want to grow,
Yes.
and has fears, because the principle is this: he wants to go further while she's in the state of, well, I got this and that's enough for me. Or like some people say, doesn't matter if it's the man or the woman, we earned this amount of money and that's enough. Why earn more? Why? Because more will destroy things if there's no desire.
Look, I'm deliberately provoking right now because I know there are situations when you tell a woman, he's a total energy vampire. Yes, he's sexually charged like that, but you need to break up with him.
The point is this: if he gives her more than she's ready to take, she hates him. And if he wants to take more than he gives, she hates him too. And here a woman has to be honest with herself in which situation she actually is. Because people who grow, whether it's a woman or a man, irritate those who don't grow. So when he clings to a woman, but he does it to reset her and pull her down to his low level, she feels uncomfortable with him, but at the same time she's uncomfortable when he pushes forward and pulls her up. That's why it's very important to find each other through similarity. Remember, I said that the speed of processing information has to match. We used the example of a slow reactive type and a fast reactive type. For example, if I'm a fast reactive, high energy type in life, I won't be with someone who's slow reactive, because for me, the feedback matters. The emotion, the fast states and fast effects from the information I gave, got the response back. We made a decision, moved to the next level, activated that, and went further. Slow reactive people will sleep on it. They'll forget it a bit, they'll keep thinking it over, and everyone feels fine in that moment. A week has already passed. They bring the topic back up, calmly make a decision. Meanwhile, the fast reactive one has already gone there 5 times, solved the matter, closed it for himself, and somewhere with his beloved, who's also at that same speed, is already mastering new heights. And that's why it's a lie that this is compensatory. She's slow reactive, he's fast reactive, or the opposite, and supposedly they balance each other. They do compensate 100%, but it's hell, not compensation. And just like we were discussing with Nicole at breakfast, a Democrat and a Republican cannot be in the same family and supposedly have a great marriage. That doesn't happen. Their legislative base must be shared, their values must match. And let's say when a woman or a man listens to Palienko and accepts everything, tries things out, and the other one hates Palienko, rejects it, thinks it's nonsense, guys, you chose the wrong partner, you walked into the wrong door. Because Palienko is about worldview, about values, about laws and solutions. If a person has different ways of solving things than what's here, they hate these ways of solving, which means you're living in a destructive program. Either you stop listening to Palienko and agree with that person, or you understand that this is not your person.
Or listen to Palienko, but at the same time the man says, listen, you were a grumpy one, a megara,
The point is,
and you still are.
there are a lot of women or men who listen and discredit me, because that's where everything stops for them. They don't act. Because what matters is, you thought, you did, not you heard, went, slept, and then kept using old laws while listening to the new. What matters is the balance between the inner and the outer. If you listen to it, do it. If you listen but don't do it, then who are you? A vampire. That's how it is. It's like knowing traffic rules versus knowing and driving according to traffic rules. 2 different principles. You can know the laws or the tax code perfectly well, but still cheat and steal. That's a totally different principle. I'll finish my thought. Why I said we'd go through this lightly. When in a couple, doesn't matter if they're in sync or not, there's a constant offering. Here's how I want it. Here's how I like it. Here's my resonance. Here's what feels good to me. And the other person agrees or disagrees. Then after some time, when this debit and credit don't match, a person wakes up one morning and realizes they're not on the same path with this partner. They just write a statement and leave calmly. Absolutely calmly. But when a person hides what they want, doesn't say it, doesn't voice it, or adapts, or tries to subtly hint, embellish something, at some point they lose themselves. And even worse, when they pressure persuade, motivate. In that moment, they give away their luck, their success, their realization to someone who will not use it and will not give it back. That's why I say it's important to give advice or make proposals only to those who are likely to agree and do either as you want or even better. And it's important in couples that you don't waste energy on convincing, only on voicing, where the other person ahead of you offers the same thing. That's tactility, tenderness, honest conversation, and sincerity. Even if you get burned when you offer something and the person doesn't want it, isn't going to do it, doesn't like it, or does it falsely, you'll immediately feel that it won't feel good for you to do this with that person. Or the person says, no, and don't do that, because we're together, and if I'm not going, then you're not going. That's where the question of separation arises, because we cannot change other people.
So the key parameters, the worldview principles, have to match.
What I want to say is,
Or one can listen to Eminem and the other to French chanson.
no matter how you look at it, it's all nonsense. Doesn't happen. That means it's lie, 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 lie. Because a woman's inner state is a manifestation of her man. If a woman likes Eminem, then the man will end up listening to him too. If they're in sync, he loves fishing, she'll love fishing. He loves bikes or cars, she'll love bikes, cars. He loves action movies, she loves action movies. She loves poetry, he'll love poetry. If not, then guys, this is a fake relationship.
They'll grow to love it, right? Meaning not immediately, correct?
The point is that when we come here, we're speaking about two people, but it can be different. We can only carry half of the load. The other half is carried by our partner, and we teach what we've taken and done, and our partner teaches what they've taken and done. We simply have storage rooms for what they'll give us, and they have storage rooms for what we'll give them. And yes, there's a question of timing, but generally, if we listen to ourselves and feel, and I said at the beginning, we develop intuition and act from the inner, not the mind. But the inner must not be lust, fear, rigidity, accusations, hatred, envy. It must be love. And when there is love inside, it always chooses the best option out of all possibilities.
Can a woman or a man, being essentially lone wolves, without a permanent partner, as you said, if they have intuition, build business with one person, have sex with another, go to restaurants with another, movies, ice cream and flowers with someone else, same for a man, can they reach some kind of wholeness? And will the principle manifestation through multiplication work for them?
The most important thing is to have no judgment. That's it.
Of oneself?
Of those people and of oneself. And then it doesn't matter whether you're together or not. The most important thing is that the aftertaste from these people is goodwill, sincerity, and the desire for things to go well for them. And when that's present, you don't need to force everything into templates.
In the concept where, say, a woman is single but has several admirers, or a man is single but has several women, does the principle still work that a man declares and observes how women offer him solutions? Who should he look to?
He'll be seeing who he is
His
through
mother,
them. And
his
the
daughter.
important point in anything, restaurant, meeting, movie, sex, conversation, is aftertaste. The aftertaste creates the foundation. If it seemed like, wow, but then you feel sick afterwards. If it seemed like, wow, but then it's empty. Or if it seemed like nothing special, but later there's a state of bliss and pleasure, the aftertaste matters a lot. The energy catches up to us, and the principle is essential. You meet someone, talk for 5 minutes, and after that meeting, you have a whole week of wow. And when you remember the person, your breath catches. And what I've always said everywhere and repeated many times, because some people don't get it. They don't have enough capacity and energy resources to take this as a foundation. We determine people's level by their sexuality, by their attractiveness as men and women. If they're wise, professional, knowledgeable, but we don't see a man or a woman in them. These people, through their action or through the information they give, take our life. They eat our soul. They destroy us. So if a person is asexual, meaning not expressing their true inner strength, a man in masculine energy, a woman in feminine energy, then most likely they carry destructive laws, negative thinking, fears, victimhood, and manipulation.
I know for sure women and men who are wildly sexual, but they are the embodiment of fear and anxiety.
That's not sexuality. That's an attempt to compensate by taking someone's life energy. If that sexuality is toxic, but you are in love, then you won't fall for that sexuality. But when you're toxic and her sexuality is toxic, it interacts. But what does it give? Destruction. Everywhere. False values equals false values. Similar attracts similar. And I'll emphasize again, we're talking about true sexuality, where there is kindness, tenderness, positivity, sincere desire for the other person to be well, whether they will be with you or not, whether you will be with them or not. When there is that openness and goodwill, it's visible to the naked eye. Otherwise, you have to be completely wooden to go only by external factors. That's when people have very false things. But usually when they lie a lot, betray a lot, manipulate, pass wishful thinking as truth, when lies are their second name, then for them, sexual will be the complete absence of sexuality. Even though externally or physically it may match some parameters, we fall in love with deep sexuality. Again, absence of past, kindness in the heart, which radiates through the eyes as love and fills the world around. That is sexuality. And when we don't see true sexuality, it means there's too much past, meaning experience, and knowledge, correctness, which kills the world around because it demands the foundation of love. And when there is none, it takes everything that exists.
Okay, but still, can you unfold this concept where a man declares and a woman manages the processes and leads things toward what the man declares?
A man declares the woman's inner expectations, that's it.
But if a man or a woman is still single, whose expectations does the man declare? And what processes does the woman organize for whom? How can they be whole, self-sufficient, and reach desired outcomes through multiplication?
A man still interacts.
Of course, the world isn't perfect.
Energetically with his woman, and all his desires are directly connected to the one who is similar to him at this moment, even if he hasn't met her yet.
Wow, quantum effect.
It works like an advance, yes.
And he will be oriented toward women who reflect those energies.
I'll use general examples to make it clearer. A man will notice these qualities in a woman. Damn, she's great. I'd love my woman to have these qualities. This one has amazing shoes, this one has this, that one has that, and so on. In reality, he activates within himself a state of interaction with these energies because he lacked the capacity. And at some point, a woman appears with all those qualities combined, and she will be with him. Being able to notice the good, think constructively, switch quickly, and be ready for things to work out or not work out, and even end up better than you imagined, or completely different but still pleasing. That's the mindset. When he has this approach, he'll inevitably choose this, and this, and then the one or the ones he resonates with will appear. And it's the same for her. It's very important that we notice the good and don't envy, but genuinely enjoy that people like this exist and have these qualities. Then we can let them go. And if it's yours, it will return multiplied. If it's not yours, let it go, because what's truly yours will come and resonate with you. Most people start interacting with those who aren't theirs at all, out of fear, out of the fact that the passport no longer says 18, and they think they must take whatever is available. And the worst part is manipulation, and even worse, when magic, rightness, or false values kick in.
And you said that if this is completely not your person, someone you just somehow ended up marrying, getting a divorce will be extremely difficult because there's almost no energetic interaction.
Yes, yes.
And with your actual person, there may be constant conflicts, always on the edge.
That's because...
And it's much harder with your own person.
Much harder, yes. That's exactly how it is, because the rupture there is just 3 steps away, and that's a complete breakup. But a rupture of 1,000,000 steps with someone who isn't yours, you don't care. There was never similarity between you. You're just together because there's no similarity. You closed yourselves off and are simply solving situational issues, loans, school, kids, parking payments, something else. There's no emotional involvement. That's why Earth is collapsing. Marriages have no emotional depth, and emotional relationships fall apart because one person moves 2 or 3 steps ahead, and that's it. They get irritated by the other who isn't matching their pace, and they separate, even though they're identical to each other. It's like when the material wasn't delivered on time and the person needs to build, or she delivered the material but he doesn't intend to build, and the concrete sets. But when neither is building anything, bring it in, don't bring it in. You can live together for days, years, decades, and everything is fine because you're not building anything.
It sounded like, in the quantum world, a man will still be oriented toward his woman, even the one he hasn't met yet. It sounds like each person has someone specific, predetermined. Is that true?
Well, that's a tough scenario.
A tough scenario meaning one single person? Or can it still happen in stages?
There's a saying, God's ways are mysterious, but generally, at each stage we have first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade. The most important thing is not to get stuck in fourth grade too long or try to jump straight into 10th. Both create mismatch. If we meet our person too early, we won't be together. If we meet them too late, we also won't be together.
Didn't have time to form.
Yes, we need to go through the stages. It's like, remember, you had to do something even though it didn't give you a result, but it gave the foundation for something else to happen later. And if you didn't buy that apartment in time or didn't advance to the next level, this next thing won't happen because there's no foundation for the next step. So on the outside, it seems like you did something and it didn't work out. But exactly that failure was the foundation for what later did work out. That's why, for any experience we've had, even if it wasn't pleasant, even if you were with a person for reasons you can't explain, be grateful. That person fulfilled the function they were meant to fulfill. We have no right to be angry, judge, or blame. Our task is to learn gratitude and express love. But for that, we must develop kindness, acceptance, agreement, which means interest in life and absence of jealousy. Because that allows us to realize our potential. And only when we have kindness, realized potential, acceptance and agreement, when there's no resentment and no jealousy. We usually get jealous of others because they have something we don't. Or they direct their energy somewhere we wish we could, but we don't have the capacity, yet we are already greedy because if not to me, then to no one. This sense of ownership is dangerous because we don't own anything. We possess nothing. Not our clothes, not our body, not our children, parents, wives or husbands. They are not our property.